Hello everyone, welcome to General Orlando 327 plays Final Fantasy XIII, episode 38. We are in the Tesseracts. We are going to get up to the best leveling spot in the game in this episode. If you watched last episode, you know I was struggling to try to remember how to respawn the sacrifices in this first area of the Tesseract. I figured it out. All you have to do is so the first time you have to actually go forward and go ahead and hit that cutscene, and then it'll spawn these two side branches, the one we're on now and the one we actually need to go to with the destination marker. All you have to do is walk down this slope, kind of hit this corner here, and then walk back. If you were paying attention, you already saw the red dots pop back up, but there they are again. So if you have not finished your Crystarium tier, please do that here. If you're even struggling with these monsters, you can go back down to where we triggered the cutscene. I am not even going to bother to fight them because they're not worth it. Although the perfume and scarlet type that they drop, okay. But there's better guild grinding spots when we need them. So if you come down here and turn, not that direction, left, you can go back to Grand Pulse. So if you're still struggling with monsters, I'm not real sure how you would have gotten this far. Considering some of the things that you had to fight getting here. The Adamantulid and the Vernal Harvester Tyrant battles are the two that would be significant hurdles. So anyway, if you've gotten this far somehow and are still having trouble with these 3 or 4 sacrifice mobs, then go back to Grand Pulse and level up your Crystarium for a long time. And then once you get close to, at least on the tier that we should be on at this point, come on back here and then just finish off that tier here. If you notice my Crystarium generation right now, I am well beyond that point. Actually, like I said last time, I have actually had cases where I have maxed out Saz's CP on a previous battle in this area, the Megrim Thresher that you had to fight, or that we did fight. I have had that battle max out Saz's CP generation, so I actually had to spend some. But, so, if you feel like grinding, you can do that here too. But you should at least have the Crystarium finished. And then we're going to go forward. Which is going to take you a lot longer to grind if you aren't doing the things the way that I do them, because the reason that I can be this over-leveled here through chapter 12 and 13 is because I went back and is because I got the growth egg after fighting Bartandalus. So if you didn't do that, check out my previous videos, and you can go ahead and get that as well while you're back in Grand Pulse. In fact, if you have been mostly following my instructions, my Let's Play, and you didn't go back to get the growth egg, this is actually a pretty decent time to get it, because that will take you back to Valus Media. Which is closer than running all the way back through Erba again. You can just go right to the base camp Seathstone to transport yourself right to the Arclight Steppe. And as long as you've done the missions up to that point, then you'll still have everything unlocked that you need to do to go get to fight the Nyoku. So I'll wait here for you. Just go ahead and do that and come on back. Or you can just keep watching for pleasure. I don't care. Alright, so we're in the next area of the Tesseracts. I was talking about the nature of Tesseracts last episode. And it's always... higher dimensional physics is always... Well, higher dimensional theoretical physics, I suppose, since we can't prove anything. Has always been a curiosity of mine. Ever since I found out about 4-gons and 5-gons. By the way, that's what they call higher dimensional constructs in mathematics. So 4th dimensional constructs, the only one that's named that I'm aware of No, that's not right either. The only one I'm aware of is the Tesseract. I don't know if there are higher other geometric shapes besides the square version that are named. But, okay, I should be going instead of just talking. Let me do that. So we actually need to go back to the one that we just got off of, which should be this one. So anyway, let me check my map. We are not on the one with the destination marker, so we're in the right place. Alright. So you're going to be here, even though, you know, you just got off that one and you would think that would be taking you back to where you started. No, it's not. Wait, I didn't actually follow that path. I was like, why is that there? Because you can actually keep going. Right. Let's see here. I need to be in set A, which I am not. Okay. All the way down here are some superchargers. Anyway, so higher dimensional physics has always been an interest of mine. Partially because of my math background and partially because I've always been curious with theoretical physics. Mostly because of science fiction. Like everybody who typically is into theoretical physics, it's usually because of some kind of science fiction or fantasy. Weird fantasy, but it's basically science fiction to start with. I don't know why I'm looking at that. No need. Already fought a few of these. So anyway, I actually have a rather sophisticated model of the universe that I have constructed myself from things I know about physics at the quantum and theoretical level, and so on and so on. Yep, that's all we need. If you're not familiar with Elon Musk, he is a genius and a humanitarian and also a businessman who owns, among other things, SpaceX, Tesla, and I've forgotten what the neuroscience one that he just bought recently was. But basically his goal is to usher in the future and protect humanity from destroying itself in the process. And he also has had some quotes that he has done, some interviews where in one he was asked about the theory of the universe that basically says we're living in a simulated reality. And I'm not going to go too deep into this because most people probably don't care. If you do care, feel free to contact me. We do have a Facebook page and no, I haven't made the Twitter account yet, but I'm in the process of trying to build a Facebook page for this channel that I honestly am just not very good at. Actually, I don't really know what to do with those to make those kinds of accounts interesting, which is why I haven't made a big deal of it on the channel. But at some point I would like to... Why is that thing stuck? I have never seen that happen. That is a completely new thing. I have never seen that happen before. Anyway, well, that's one thing I would like to get up and running in the near future is Facebook page and a Twitter account so that I can actually do some live streaming, which is one of the reasons that I don't do any live streaming at the moment, because I know I don't have followers to be watching for my notifications, because let's be honest, I haven't really put much out other than the weekly content. So I would like to get my Facebook page and my Twitter going so that we can actually have some more interaction with this channel, drive some engagement, And then that would be the kind of place that I would be interested in going into more depth on some of my theories. But the basic gist of it is basically that unlike the Einsteinian relativity schools of thought that are fundamentally flawed in a couple of ways, the one that's relevant in this case is thinking that time is the fourth dimension, which does not make sense from any kind of a mathematical or physical, school being physics, perspective, unless you make the other compounding assumption that light is that the speed of light is constant, which is also flawed, which we know from black holes that light can bend, and if light can bend, then the speed of light cannot be constant. Specifically bend into a circle and come back into the same waveform. We can track the particles moving at different speeds around both sides of a black hole, and they come back at the same time, which means that they can't be constant. I'm not in the right. I can't remember how we did this. I think we started with. No, that's not what I want. Try to keep thinking. Because we need to get protected shell. See, this is what happens when I start talking theoretical physics. I get distracted from everything else. That's one of my rabbit holes, and first one that I've introduced on this channel. I get going on theories of the universe, how everything all plays together. Got everything I need there. Do this the easy way. Probably heal. Yeah, definitely. You know, I actually got lucky there that he knocked us down before he used Fusillade, because otherwise that probably would have done quite a bit more damage than it did. The other rabbit hole that I go down that will probably never really come up on this channel, because, I mean, really, when would it? But, is Riemann's hypothesis, which, if you're not familiar with high-level mathematics, that is a theorem in which a famous, he was, I believe, 18th century. The details elude me, but he was either 18th or 19th century mathematician that had to have been 18th century. That postulated that primes, that the number of prime numbers are more importantly, the number of prime pairings that are two digits away from each other. For example, 1 and 3 are both prime numbers. They are 2 digits away from each other. 3 and 5, 5 and 7. The next one is 11 and 13. That the number of those are infinitely countable. Infinitely. Wow, it's been forever since I've actually had to remember the actual hypothesis. Anyway, the theorem is actually what's used in basically all electronic encryption these days. If anyone were to ever prove Riemann's hypothesis, because in order to prove it, you would have to come up with an algorithm that could actually count said prime numbers. Then encryption as we know it would disappear, because, and that's actually one of the dangers of quantum computing, is that there might actually be at some point a computer in existence that could break Riemann's hypothesis, and therefore all encryption keys everywhere could be fairly easily hacked using the algorithm, because encryption, end key encryption, is based on massively large numbers, and specifically large prime numbers. And I don't want to go too far into that. But as a mathematician, I don't care so much about the applications. I care about the theory itself. That's one of those problems for some people. For some mathematicians, it's the traveling salesman problem. There's a group of problems that were around at the turn of the 19th century, which is why I have concluded that Riemann must have been 18th century. Basically, the World's Fair in Chicago, the famous one. That there was a prize that that was offered $1 million for anyone who could solve these famously unsolvable math problems. Since then, one of them was traveling salesman problem, also known as P versus NP, Riemann's hypothesis, Gauss's. It's been forever since I've actually studied anything other than Riemann's. Have we fought these before? No, we have not. So this is the next level up of Aura bonds, and they are actually a fairly decent challenge. They're not bad as a single one. We can kill it. In fact, we're in the wrong paradigm setup. We really ought to be a smart bomb. We can kill one fairly easily. Again, if you have not finished your Crystarium tier, these things are deadly. But we can kill one. Actually, one of the fights that we have coming up is a group of them that is, in my opinion, one of the hardest regular fights of the game. In fact, I have to usually do special tactics just to fight them. Did that. Okay, even 3 we can handle fairly easily, although it's pretty easy, as we just did, to get a preemptive strike. And if we let Hope go ahead and cast the Thunder, it'll make our lives a little easier. I just thought my phone was going to ring again there for a second. I was not going to be happy about it. Every time it's rang today, it's been spam. I'm really sick of it. So anyway, back to the Millennium Problems. So there were, don't quote me on this, but I think there were 9 of them. Or potentially 11. And they were all, at the time, unsolvable. Some of them have actually been solved since then. Some of them have been proved that they cannot be solved. But Riemann's is still one that has not been proven either way. And that's the one that I typically go down the rabbit hole on. Every once in a while, if you were in my apartment, you would see my whiteboards full of prime numbers while I was trying to break some kind of pattern that I'm sure only I have seen, because they're usually wrong. I usually disprove them within 4 days, but then it gets me obsessed on the idea for another week. Why am I still in? Because I'm talking about math. See, this is what happens. But hey, now we all have fail, which actually is useful in this fight. So where was I going with all that? We were talking about the Tesseract. So the Tesseract is the 4th dimensional construct, extension of the square and the cube. And it's again, it's very difficult to explain the fourth dimension. I mean, think about it. Like, how do you explain a whole nother dimension? For example, the best example I've ever heard of this is if you were an ant, which is technically a three-dimensional creature, but basically only lives on a two-dimensional plane for the majority of its existence, at least perception-wise. I don't know why I still haven't changed my default paradigm, because I very rarely use Sharpie in this area. Basically only against structures. So if you're an ant and you have a human who understands the concept of the third dimension, being that there is a height and a depth to everything rather than just a length and a width. So, like, you're trying to explain to this ant, assuming you can communicate with ants, obviously. But if you could communicate with an ant enough to try to explain to them what it means to be higher or lower. To a certain point, they understand that because of the fact that they build. But at the same time, it's still on an instinctual level that they're just going straight in a particular direction. So for us to try to understand the fourth dimension is very similar. The best way I can explain it is using my model of the universe that I don't know how many people actually in the scientific community would necessarily agree with, but I believe I have pretty sufficient evidence to claim that it would be fairly accurate. And that is that that time is not the next dimension. It is, in fact, the barrier between dimensions. So, for example, you have a single point, one dimensional entity that doesn't understand length at all, and you take that point, and from the perspective of a third dimensional entity, or even a second dimensional entity, they understand that they're in one space in the next dimension up. But if you were to extend that point to all possible spaces in its dimension, in other words, in a single dimension, there is an infinite number of points. If you extended that single point to every potential point, you then create a line. From there, you would create a plane. From a plane, you create a cube. Well, not exactly a cube, but that's the easiest way to think of it. We can take it simply from a perspective of one point in time to a second point of time, where you would have a line segment, which would turn into a square, which would turn into a cube, etc., etc. So, the best way for me to explain a tesseract, then, is to state that as the next dimensional version of a cube, which means you would take a cube and extend it along both length, width, and height infinitely, and every point that it covers becomes a tesseract over all possible time and all possible existences. This theory also relies fairly heavily on a concept of branching universes into a multiverse based on decision nodes. Again, we're getting into some pretty deep theoretical physics stuff now, and that's actually a little bit. The multi-dimension theory, multi-universe theory is actually getting closer and closer to becoming standard view of the multiverse. Obviously can't be proven because we don't have any way to travel from one one universe to another based on the decision that is made. As soon as we make the decision, it cements it into this reality. Although that is getting closer to being broken as well. I need this. That's getting closer to being broken as well because of the concept of superposition, which is another one of my newfound curiosities. That's currently under research in a lot of theoretical physics labs and so on. So superposition is basically the concept that all possible universes exist simultaneously until one is chosen and set into quote-unquote stone, and then the rest separate off and become other universes. The concept relies heavily on the idea of dark matter being defining dark matter as being the anti matter. Basically, if you've watched Star Trek, they have matter and antimatter distinctions. Theoretical physics has proven that antimatter does in fact exist. They just can't measure it and capture it at the moment because we don't have the tools to do so. It has proven that at the subatomic level, at the quantum level, it does exist. And that's where we start on the idea of dark matter. That dark matter would be the building of matter based on this antimatter, or building of higher level molecules, atoms, etc., or atoms, molecules, etc., based on created from antimatter, and then superposition uses that idea to explore the possibility of infinite universes by saying that every possible future of the universe exists in a state of dark matter until one is selected for this universe. And then it separates off. Each possible separation goes off into other universes, which is where deja vu and some of the other interesting paranormal / supernatural concepts come from, and potentially actually have explanations in reality. But anyway, that's the history, the concept behind the Tesseract, concept behind what we know of fourth dimensional physics. Obviously, to expand beyond fourth dimensional physics, we can't even really comprehend it all. I mean, try to explain what would happen if a Tesseract was able to go across all four dimensions in its infinite states. And then you have whatever the fifth dimensional version would be. Yeah. Then you get into some really, brain twisting ideas. Why is this not? Oh yeah, you have to look up to actually get this to work. So then you have, fifth dimensional hypergons and so on and so on. So if you're still watching this video, congratulations on getting through my entire ramble. That takes some pretty serious dedication. Now you know a little bit more about me. Or at least my crazy. That's actually not crazy, but everybody thinks it's crazy. But I guess that is the definition of crazy, isn't it? Right. Moving on. Wait. Did I just... Oh, I went backwards. I forgot that it brings you the platform. The last one, it actually, like... No. Oh, no, that's right. It does take you to the new area, and it looks the same, but it's not. So it moves this field to over there somewhere. And now we get to fight a sacrifice and a Velacycle at the same time, which is actually a little bit of a nuisance. Again, we have the theoretical quandary of, do we want to try to kill the cycle as quickly as possible, although we just made it really easy on ourselves, because we just got a preemptive strike. So it really doesn't matter at this point. Otherwise, you would have to try to decide whether you wanted to take out the Death Dealer or the Cycle. In this case, we're gonna try to take out the Cycle in one stagger, which is not very easy when Fang is trying to debuff something else, but we might be able to pull that. Probably not, to be honest. Yeah, this is not a fun fight. Only because the sacrifice is annoying more than anything else. Okay, we need to do this before it actually gets this off. Never mind. Not that it matters all that much. Alright, we survived. I shouldn't really count much before the hatch. No, we survived. It's not going to be casting death anymore, so. But yeah, you want to focus on killing the cycle first. Alright. Which direction do we want to go? Alright, so we can actually go back to the main hub area if we go to the right. We actually... So really what all that did is just bring this platform to us. So... And change the enemies a little bit. Alright, we need to go all the way straight down here. Wait, what? No, this way. Over here. Oh. We're actually going to go the other way. The reason we're going to go the other way is because there's an additional battle in this direction, which we really don't need, because whatever, but just so you see it on camera, in case you are playing through with me, we're going to go ahead and fight this battle, which is not a fun battle. So we can get this. Nope, nope, go away, go away. We really want to get a preemptive strike here, is what we really want to have happen. And our worst enemy in this fight is actually slow. If you get slowed in this fight, bad things happen. There we go. We got our preemptive strike. So we actually need to kill the sacrifice first in this case. Because Because once you get hit with with slow, the Dagonites can rip you to shreds. Aggression to take as much advantage of the stagger as we can. Or at least I would if, you know, I wasn't dazed for days. I'm trying to kill that one. Yeah. Okay, I was thinking we may have to heal, but they were all weak enough that by then that we could kill them. Alright. Then we get a perfume out of that. Cool. Not strictly necessary, but whatever. Alright, now we're basically back to where we were. Alright, this one we actually need to have Hope as our leader for the strategy to work. This is the fight I was talking about. That's actually one of the nastiest fights in the game because you have 2 sacrifices and you have 2 Dagonites. And combined you can get wrecked really quick. So what you want to do is go into this battle and wait. Let them use Power Spritz, and then you're going to answer with Dispel Gun, which is going to get rid of your buffs but also theirs. And then you can just do things easy right. Haste back. And then use Thunder and Protect simultaneously. Everybody. Maybe you can stand up. This is why I'm not fond of the fact that he doesn't have Vigilance. Come on! Alright. Then we can use Diversity. Hopefully without dying in the process. Alright. And now we're in good position. And we want to, I think we can probably finish these off pretty quickly with Thunder element view. And then we're just back down to the 2 sacrifices that we know how to do. The other alternative to this method is you can actually, if you switch Strike Team to Guerrilla by making it Fang as the Saboteur, Hope as the Synergist that he already was, and switch Lightning to Ravager, and then make Fang your party leader. That way you can Fang will dispel the debuffs from Power Spritz on the Dagonites, and Hope will be partially countering the debuffs from particularly slow from both monsters, while Lightning just keeps attacking. It doesn't work as well with the the previous fight when there are 3 Dagonites and a sacrifice, but I think the method that I used worked fairly well. Alright, so now we get 2 sacrifices. And a Velacycle that comes out of nowhere. Yeah. So about that. It's almost like they're trying to kill us or something. So again, try to take down the Velacycle as quickly as possible. course, the downside to that is that Fang is gonna waste time casting on things that we don't care about, but whatever. Hopefully we can get this to work. Yeah, there we go. We got it staggered. That's the important part. Even if it survives the first stagger, we'll kill it shortly thereafter. No, if it survives the first stagger, they'll probably have to get staggered again in order to actually die, but whatever. Alright, we've got Imperil, keep protecting the shell. So let's take down the Velacycle before the stagger ends. Alright, then we can deal with these. We got everything we care about with fog on them. They're not going to kill us with their physical attacks, that's for sure. They do have physical attacks, they just barely ever use them. And as a prize, we get a tetradic crown, which we never need to see again, because we already got all of them. So you actually do get 3 pieces of tetradic gear throughout just the storyline, and then you get more by unlocking and riding chocobos. So you can get all of those that you need without grinding mission 7, but it's a decent mission to grind anyway. Alright, now we're in another section of the Tesseract. Alright, and this one is a step up from the last one that we did with the 2 Dagonites and 2 Sacrifices. Yeah, so about that. Now we get 3 Dagonites and a Velacycle. And I think I thought we had a preemptive strike there. We were this close. Again, we want to use Spellgun. Assuming it's ever going to... Oh, they did do it. I just didn't see it. Cool. Wonderful. Alright, now... Yeah. You know what I did wrong there? We didn't want to start in that paradigm. Because that's way too slow for this fight. We need to go to Relentless Assault. Using Decept Soul here is not a bad idea. Just saying. No, we need you to target that. Thank you. Use Dispelga. But we don't want them to have power spurts right now. The downside is we're losing all of our buffs. But, why are none of you attacking? Okay, you are. And then they both get dazed. Cool. Just what I wanted. Trying to think of the best way to do this. I'm thinking we might want to use I have 4 TP. I do not want to use Renew. Alright, let's use this. I would like to keep Lightning alive, but if she dies, guess it's okay. At this point, she's not being all that helpful anyway. Alright, so here's what we're gonna do. Okay. So phase 2, we're gonna use our last set of TP to summon Alexander. This might actually be the only time in the game that I summon Alexander. Alright, and then our goal here is to kill the Velacycle while Alexander's still out. Probably during the Gestalt phase. This might be a problem though. Yeah, that's right. Alexander does still out. About that. Our Gestalt bar is full. That's what I want to get that stagger in.
Alright, it's time!
Yes, yes it is. He's probably honestly my favorite Eidolon design.
Right, ready for battle.
It's a shame that he's not really all that useful. Who will? And why are we firing at him?
Demolition. I decide my fate.
We actually are gonna run out of. Well, this is annoying because we're gonna be out of the stagger before we get.
No holding back.
So why am I only at level 2? I had my Gestalt bar full. If that will kill the Velacycle? I don't think it did. No, of course not. That's a problem. Because now we're back to this. Really not good. It's gonna get off its attack, which is also not good. And I don't have Renew. Third, not good. But hey, we killed it. That actually worked. Sort of. Yeah, this is actually the one I was talking about that was the potentially the absolute worst regular battle in the game. Thankfully, it's, oh yeah, not at all optional. Alright. Should be able to finish this game aggression fairly easily. Well, we got a 5-star rating. Yeah! This is why I don't care about those. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could technically skip this by going the other down the, or can you? Yeah, no, you could technically skip this because we're gonna be able to jump across the other direction too, but yeah, yeah. Alright, we need to be in strike team. We're going to toss an Ether Soul because why not? I don't really need very many more of them. Could just use the Liberscope for this battle because we have the ultimate general type enemy here, but that was unnecessary. Why are we casting Veil? Okay, I guess we do cast Veil, but still, actually did Protect and Shell. Oh, that's right. It casts. That's a nuisance. The game that one casts the spell. It's really quite the pain. Shell and Veil. Veil and Bar Thunder. On you. Of course, you just did that. Of course, you did. How about you not do that? How about you cast a legitimate healing spell? Or something that's going to heal everybody. That seems like a good plan. Probably don't actually need to waste all that, but at this point I don't even care about recasting buffs. Probably should, but I don't. Oh, of course, the first thing she gets to stick is Fog. Frog? Smog. The other Smog. Apparently I'm on tangent night tonight. Which is ironic since we were talking about geometry earlier that I'm on a tangent, but see what I did there? Alright, so we came down there for those 6 Star Blossom Seeds, which are worth 78,000 gil. But again, 78,000 is really just a drop in the bucket. So, strictly optional to do both of those fights. But if you can do both of those fights, you pretty much can do anything in the game. Well, anything in the story. The game is still working. If you are prepared for those 2 fights back to back, then you are prepared for just about anything. At least until you beat the final boss. You are as prepared as you can be for this area. Probably should have checked my CP. I might actually be really close to capping out Saz. Getting close, but not quite there. Okay, before we go straight, we're going to turn and backtrack down here for 8 black myceliums, which are also sellable loot. This battle can be complicated depending on what happens with the sacrifices debuffs.
Target acquired.
The nice thing is that they're both weak to, or not weak to, but vulnerable to basically all of the relevant status effects. So having Fang in the party is excellent. If you care enough to make optimal parties, you could put in Fang and Vanille, but then you're not going to be things down very quickly and whatever. Actually, I probably should be using aggression now. Well, whatever. It's not going to make a difference. Look at that cap damage.
Search is over.
Alright, another sphere over here that we definitely want to collect. So this has Rodochrosite, which is going to be useful in upgrading stuff after we finish the story. Then we have one more battle here before we reach the save point. And then I think we are going to have to spend down. Yeah, we are. This is fine. We'll be fine in this paradigm. I don't know how I feel about which one we should kill first. Because 2 sacrifices aren't a real problem. And if we try to kill both sacrifices first, the Templar will probably get off its mana drive. Or not, since it now has fog on it, but whatever. Let's just go ahead and kill that real quick. I actually need to heal after this. Only because 2 deaths will kill me regardless of whether or not they actually stick. Alright. Then we can go back to this and do things the usual way. You have everything on you, because Fang was wasting time casting against the one that I didn't target, which really annoys me. But that's in the programming, but... That is one of the best things that they fixed about Final Fantasy XIII too. Is you can set it up so that it focuses on your target. Your paradigms can be set up so that they focus on your target, or focus on a wide area, or then just use default settings. Alright, so I do need to spend down. Because we're going to be getting about 300,000 CP here shortly. So what I like to do is spend down to about 600,000 at this point. I might actually go farther than that, to tell the truth, because we're going to do everything anyway. Alright, so let's talk about secondary roles, because that's the point that we're at this point. My first preference, the first obvious one to do is Fang, because unlocking her Ravager abilities is going to be supremely useful. just for the sheer fact of being able to use try disaster paradigm with her, supremely useful. She is actually only the only secondary medic to learn raise, which makes that her second most useful one. She gets all 4 of the element strike skills in Ravager, which she's actually the only person other than Lightning to get all 4 strike skills. And she gets 2 of the Ga attacks, the element Ga attacks. She gets all 5 of the Ra attacks, which actually makes her a better caster than Snow and Saz. And she's only 1 element Ga spell behind Vanille. So, yeah. She's actually very useful. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and finish all of these strikes here. And that's going to be it for her for the moment. She doesn't need the Aura spells yet. So our next one is Hope. Who actually... So, Hope makes a great Saboteur, and Vanille makes a great Synergist. They just kind of made it so that their role reversal works. I mean, it makes sense. You don't really want them as a Commando or a Sentinel anyway. He does not get the single target Saboteur spells. But, I mean, when you can target wide ranges of them anyway, who cares? I mean, they last a shorter period of time, and the probability of hitting the target is lower. But if he's filling in as a Sab, it's worth doing anyway. Usually, if you have him in as a Sab, it's because it's a secondary role. You want him for something else. He gets Dispel, which is great. Keep going. We'll finish off this tier. There we go. Yeah, he gets Jinx, which will extend, which is the spell that lets them just keep casting Sab spells and actually be useful about it. Lightning. My favorite role for her is Sentinel. She does not get any of the guard skills. So you might think, why in the world would you make her a Sentinel if she can't guard? It's because she gets the evade skills. It gives her HP because Sentinels get the most amount of HP nodes, but she also gets evade and elude, which is the higher version of evade. That basically, when she's in that mode, she just evades all the attacks. She just dodges everything. We will also get an item, an accessory that increases the evasion rate, which basically makes it so that if you have an encounter that she can take a few hits if she needs to, and yet you want to evade just about everything else, she is perfect for it. The problem sometimes that I have with Snow and Fang as Sentinels is that they just keep taking hit after hit after hit after hit, and then I still have to heal them. With Lightning, she just evades everything, for the most part. The downside is that if she does get hit with something like Sirius, then she is pretty much dead. But then you just don't use her as a Sentinel. Okay. So Lightning also gets some good Saboteur spells. She gets which ones here? So as a synergist, she gets all of the same spells that Saz gets, except the defensive element. The bar element spells, and she's actually the only primary synergists to get the N element spells to endow element attributes to other team members. As a saboteur, she gets let me think. I did this backwards. She is a good secondary synergist, not a good secondary sab. She's actually the second worst potential sab. And Saz is the secondary sab equivalent to Lightning's synergist role. So, however, we actually need to get him leveled in medic, because he's actually going to be my primary medic in certain battles in the post story, which is kind of ironic. But because of his versatility, he fits in well in a lot of parties, and if he's not hampered by the fact that he can't heal anybody, he can actually take the role, take Vanille or Hope's role in Paratimes. And make use of his other stuff a lot easier. You've got Kira and Asuna already. The downside is that he does not get Raise. But he does get Kirasa, and... No, he does not get Kiraja. He doesn't get Kirasa, or he doesn't get Kiraja or Raise. Which, okay. He also makes an okay Sentinel only because of his high amount of HP. His abilities aren't that great. In some cases, though, he's still going to be a better sab, or a better Sentinel than Lightning is. Like, if the enemy does enough damage with their attacks to wipe Lightning out if she happens to not evade an attack. Vanille is equivalent to Hope in the opposite Sabsin thing. Respect. So she gets a lot of the she gets all of the turbocharged Sin spells, the raw versions that none of the primary synergists actually get. She doesn't get them right away, right? First she gets the defensive ones. But then, so she will actually be used a few times for... I'll go for that too. She will actually be used a few times for more potent versions of the synergist spells. The Protect, Shell, Bravery and Faith. Hang on 1 second. I just got a call that I actually have to respond to. And then we have Snow, who we still don't really care about because all we really care about is Sentinel and maybe Commando roles. But, whatever. He gets Kirasa in Medic, but he never gets Raise. Or obviously Kiraja. and he's absolutely the worst saboteur and synergist, so he's not really all that helpful. I guess we'll give him some medic. We gotta do something to spend his CP. And compared to his other two roles, I guess that's the best option. I actually went further than I intended to do there, but whatever. It's not like I really care. It's not like I'm going to use him. And like I said, we're going to finish off all of the secondary roles that we have before we finish anyway. Alright, now, before we go on... we need to start. And we are all set. We are pretty much going to be using set A for this battle. What I do want to do is toss a press the right button. The right. Thank you. There we go. And toss our shrouds, and then we'll do this. Alright, so we've seen things like this before. These are the ultimate versions of these, Jabberwocky and Bandersnatch. We're going to go ahead and use the Liberscope because of course we are. We need to get Imperil and Deprotect on the Jabberwocky, which we got. And then we're going to just take it out in a relentless assault. If we have to, we can use Diversity to heal up. Please don't kill Hope. And at this point, these are pretty easy. Again, if you haven't leveled your Crystarium, they're not this easy. Especially since the other one wastes time healing the first one. Again, we just need De-Shell and Imperil in this case, instead of Deprotect and Imperil. There we go. And then we do the same thing. Alright, and that's that. So for a minute and 28 seconds of easy work, we got 64,000 CP. And Star Blossom Seed. For some gil. We are going to be doing a circuit of enemies that include this boss battle and the next boss battle.
I think he's testing us to see if we have what it takes to see things through.
Before we get that far, we need to change this up a little bit. This is going to be switched to Gorilla, which is the one that I suggested for that Dagonite and 2 Daganites and 2 Sacrifice battle backaways. So this is the one that we're using, and we actually need to set it up as our default.
No big deal.
Then forward we go.
Where's this end?
It doesn't. That's the point of Tesseract.
If there is one, I can't see it.
At
We
least
can't do
in
this.
terms of
All
three-dimensional
these safe
entities.
people once, like us.
But that's what Bartantalus is going for. Don't you see? Make us feel guilty, lose faith. And the second we give up, it's focus time.
Wait till we're broken, slip on the leash.
Yeah, well, when you think about it, having all this empathy, it puts us humans at a big disadvantage.
Maybe. But it's also what makes us dangerous.
Bang? What's wrong?
Oh, nothing. Just that time's running short.
It's okay. My mind's made up this time. We'll just make Cocoon our home.
Yeah. I guess we will.
Or you could just take a ship and go back to Pulse again. I mean, you know. You've done that like twice already. And that's without transgates. So obviously those are the other 2 guys that we have to fight. One of which we can easily get to, one of them we kind of can't. Okay, so the one standing in front of us here is the last type of tyrant, Centaurian, whatever, and it is obviously the nastiest one. We're gonna try to do it without an Aegisol. We may need to use an Aegisol. We'll see. Obviously, well, actually, you should probably use your abilities first, if you want Bar Thunder. Okay. Wow, that was way too slow.
Appreciate it.
No, not on me, you moron. Thank you. There we go. Yeah, I did that way too slowly.
Thanks.
Face it head on. This isn't fair.
Yeah, so I did that way too slowly. Hesitated too much there. Deciding whether I wanted to use Libra. The answer is I didn't. I need to get these buffs on. We just need Shell. Come on! Probably would have been better off using but... No, stop. Thank you. That's what I wanted. Alright, then we want to use the Libroscope. So we can get both of them Libra'd in a hurry. And then heal up. Well, I guess I don't really need to heal up, do I? Technically, we don't have to kill the Centaurian Blade. I mean, you know, what's the point of wasting time killing it? Since we've got it all Libra'd and everything, it's not like we're going to get more bestiary data from killing it. If you just use plain old Libra, you probably need to kill it. But if you use a Libroscope, you're going to automatically get all the data you need. So then just kill the Immortal. And that is the only one of those in the game. You can fight it a couple of times, but it is the only one in the game. And now we can go through this gate to the upper level, where we are going to get a Weirding Glyph and an Adamant Bangle with no battles to fight. The Weirding Glyph, I think we will use it at some point in the future. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we use that at some point in the future. The Adamant Bangle we don't care so much about. And then we use the Warp to go to the lower level. And we're going to get an Elixir and a Scarletite. The Elixir alone is worth doing. Everything else is just a bonus. And then we go back to the normal level. And then you end up on the opposite side where you started again. And hey, look, the Immortal is back. You could fight it again if you really wanted to for some reason, or if you only used Libra and didn't get full bestiary completion. If you even care about that. But you only get 11,000 CP with the Growth Fag equipped, and you saw that it's still a pretty complicated battle compared to the Bandersnatch, the Jabberwocky Bandersnatch combo that we did in, you know, an easy 2+ minutes, and got however many. That was 64,000 CP by itself. So, and we are going to have access to that combo multiple times. Which direction do I want to go first? Okay. Yeah, you don't actually have to go. I mean, either way, it doesn't matter. We need to change this to variety. If you go left, you have to fight 2 Aqua Velicycles and a Megrim Thresher Sanctum Templar combination. And we don't really want to do that, so I'm not even going to bother with that. You can. I've done it, but I just don't feel like bothering with it. This actually seems harder because you have a bunch of Dagonites and 2 sacrifices. 4 Dagonites and 2 sacrifices. But again, you've got the Dispelger trick to work with. And done. Alright. And then can just use, let me think, what's the best way to do this? Haste.
Thanks.
Protect and then thunder. Give me a break here. I know he's already got it back there, but grief! Give me a bloody break!
Gotta stay in control.
You're going down. Thanks.
Oh, come on.
Keep at it.
Again, not a fun fight, but it's still better than 2 Velacycles and a Thresher combo with a Templar. In the right combo again.
On your knees.
We use Protecting Veil. Yeah, I probably should have used the bubble. Alright, so we're gonna use the summon here.
On your knees.
Alexander! Sorry! ready for this? Demolition time. Demolition time. No holding back.
Bye-bye, bye-bye now, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Grief!
This isn't fair.
So ridiculous. Yeah, go away. Alright, let's do this right this time. I skipped Discalga, and I probably shouldn't have.
On your knees. Keep out of this. On your knees.
Really, I'm gonna die because of days. See, now I'm just getting annoyed. Of course, now I get a preemptive strike. Still getting my buffs in place. Might not do too, but okay at this point. Still doesn't have fog on it? Whatever. Alright. Moving on. So you know what I did that was stupid there? I was using the tactics for this battle and that battle. Yep. That would be why. Alright, well, whatever. Okay, if you could just stop interrupting Hope for like 3 seconds, I would really appreciate it. I really like they got the other. I was gonna say, if that insta kills me, I am not gonna be happy. Okay, see, now this is getting to the point where I'm getting pissed off. Because this is ridiculous. There's no reason these fights should be anywhere near this complicated.
Too late to beg.
Seriously? Again, with every single attack interrupting Hope. Alright. That's that. Quite enough of that battle. Okay. How much CPU do I have? Okay, good. You don't want to be over... You really don't want to be over like 750k there. I usually try to spend down to about 700,000, which obviously I'm below that anyway. We do need to reset some paradigms here, because set B is not going to be too useful for us at the moment. And this is reliant on the fact that we made Light a Sentinel, which is why I recommend doing it before this point. Because this is the enemy that like is the prime target for using a evade and elude strategy. So that's what we're gonna do. I don't remember what I want to start as. Yeah, I'm in the right one. Perfect. So here we go, into the arena again. So the basic idea behind this guy is that he attacks for a while, and then he, what did I, oops. We need to put, he attacks for a while, and then he uses a series of buffs and debuffs, and then he attacks for like massive amounts of damage.
Stay strong.
That's his preemptive move. And as soon as you see it, you want to make sure you have a Sentinel ready. Preferably lightning so she can just evade it. But otherwise, it still does a lot of damage. However, the longer you take to kill him, the longer, like, the more fierce he gets. As his health goes down, his damage output goes up. Alright, and then we are going to... Did I screw something up? Oh, I'm in that paradigm. Never mind, never mind, never mind, never mind, never mind. I don't know that I need that. What I do need is Shallow Veil. Stop that. Shallow Veil. Mostly it's going to be on light, but... Then we're going to use this again, because he's going to do that again. Heal her up. Evade and counter. And then just repeat ad nauseum. So now that we've got this set up, we can actually... we can kind of go on the offensive a little bit. Oh, we do need to use it. We don't need to use a Liberscope because we are going to fight this guy multiple times. And again, this is another one of the ones that's trivial to farm. This is actually the hardest of them. I don't know why I'm not just, you know, attacking him at this point, but whatever. There we go. There's a harder version of that we will fight on Pulse after the storyline is complete. Like, well after the storyline is complete. It's one of the hardest enemies in the game. And now we're in the last section of the Tesseracts.
More to this
Alright, this is also the best CP farming spot in the game. So I'm going to do a circuit to show you all the battles, and then I'm going to call it an episode so that I can spend a couple hours grinding to the point where we finish all of our current Crystarium, including the secondary roles. So yeah. And there's nothing new here that we haven't seen already. Just a couple different combinations of things. We're good on CP. Before we actually go any further, we actually want to swap out that. And then, wait, didn't I just swap you? Thank you. Customize, nope. The other thing we're gonna do is swap Saz in for Hope. And then we're gonna set up the exact same paradigms. We need, let's think. So that's nope, Sab. Med, Rav, that's right. Actually, we don't really need Relentless Assault anymore either, but Sab, Rav, and then we have this is the part that I am less familiar with because it's not my usual. Right, Sab, Sin, Rav, Sab, Sin, Sen, and Sab, Med, Sab. Alright. Alright, so this we need to set up with actually, you know, something real quick. What are your medic abilities? Cure, Cura, and Asuna. Alright, so we're actually going to move this a little bit. Rav, Med. There we go. And then the other thing we need to do is take the stuff off of you and put them on you. Which I almost forgot to do. Which could have been potentially catastrophic. Sprint and Blessed Talisman. So, obviously, Saz is not as potent a magician, which makes him as a medic role a little bit more dangerous, but it's also with proper strategy in here, you don't have too much to worry about. Alright, so now we've got both of these, which is kind of a little bit of a problem. We just wanted to start by working on the Templar a little bit. Until we get Protect, Shell, Veil, and Far Thunder. No. Back that. Thank you.
All on the wrist. Thank you. All on the wrist. Anytime. All on the wrist.
Now that we've got all of both Fog and Pain on the Templar, it's not even a threat anymore. So
All on the wrist.
we do still want that preferably, but whatever. You're not going to cast Veil, are you? Fine. Ah, of course I did this at the wrong time. Crap. Yeah, she's dead. Oh, this is hideous timing.
All on the wrist.
We may have switched away from Hubble a little bit too early.
Come on. All on the wrist. End of the road. All on the wrist.
Okay, this is not doing what I really wanted it to. Really a problem. Cool. Yeah, I think it's good early.
So this is how it ends.
Yeah, that's my own fault. I got a bit overconfident in thinking that Saz could handle that. Not quite yet. He will be able to, just not yet. Actually, not sure variety is the best option there either. That's not the right one. That's not right, but we'll fix it in a second. That's right. Dang. Wrong one. Alright, for Lizzie's. Seemed actually wanted to be honest.
You're gonna swerve! Thank you. Appreciate it. You're gonna swerve! Anytime. You're gonna swerve!
Forgot that what you really want to do is try to go on the offensive quickly to take out the Templar.
Thank you. You want some? Cheers! Thank you. You're gonna swerve!
Yeah, that's not what I wanted.
Anytime. Cheers! You're gonna swerve! Anytime. We'll see who's left standing. You're gonna swerve! Thank you. Appreciate it. You're gonna swerve! You're gonna swerve!
Okay, I really want Veil. I don't know why you're not casting it.
Anytime.
Can't possibly make my life easy, can you? Hope?
You're gonna swerve! Tear it up! You're gonna swerve!
So this battle is kind of a constant give and take between buffs and debuffs. Learning his rhythm and that kind of thing. What I do is set up one more time. Go ahead and I mean, you can always use the trick about just spamming days on him. It will sort of work. But once you get past that battle, none of the rest of them are a challenge. Okay, we finished the Jabberwocky. All that's left is focus on the Vanish Match.
Keep out of this. You're gonna swerve.
So these are pretty typical tactics. I mean, you know, again, we probably didn't really need Veil, but and honestly, I really wanted to have Protect, but whatever, I don't care. It still works. These guys are quite literally the least of your worries in this area. Not at all what I wanted. And bye-bye. And then to complete the circuit, there is one last Vladislaus over here. Which is much easier without the other guy to worry about.
On the wrist. Cheers. On the wrist. On the wrist. Let's wrap this up. Over here. Appreciate it.
So the magic number is 3, by the way. He does 3 attacks before going back into mounting contempt. Once you know that, you can just kind of
Thanks.
focus on killing him in between. And if you know he's coming up on one and you need to switch, then just switch. There we go. Depending on who he's focusing on, you either want to switch between the second and third or just after the third, so that lightning has enough time to provoke him again. Alright, and that's that. Now, there's a shortcut so that you can make this an endless loop without having to backtrack. For the moment we're going to backtrack because we haven't used it. Because I just wanted to show you all of the monsters. That whole circuit is the farming circuit. And what we're going to do is, well, off screen, I'm going to just farm that circuit until I run out of things to buy in my Crystarium, including secondary rolls. And then I'm going to build it back up to about 800k. Let me see what my number is here, make sure I'm saying the right number. Yeah, about 800k. You don't want to go too much above that because then you'll lose out on some CP between here and the final boss. But that's all there is to it. So if you see these little, there's a one square here and there's a square over here. These are the way to make the circuit really easy. Just use this brick here, and it's going to take you up to where we just fought the Vladislaus. And then you'll make that little loop, leaving the brick there. You'll fight Vladislaus, you'll fight the 3 Sanctum Templars, you'll fight the Jabberwocky Bandersnatch over here, and then on the way down the ramp you will fight the combination of Vladislaus and 1 Templar. And then, once we get to the bottom, we left that platform up there. Once we get to the bottom, all we have to do is go back over here. I don't remember if you actually have to go all the way down here or if you can get part way down there. I think you actually do have to come all the way to the save point. And then, if you go back, what you're going to want to do, since that platform is already up there, you're going to want to take the ramp back up, just like we did the first time. And the enemies have all respawned. And then you'll take the platform on the other end back down, go back to the save point, and then take the platform back up and come down the ramp. So then basically you just alternate sides back and forth, and it creates an endless loop of one directional combat. So you don't have to do what we just did there and backtrack to get down here again with no combat. It allows it to just keep going freely until you get all the CP you want. So this is quite literally the best grinding spot in the entire game for CP because of the sheer small amount of investment in each battle. Now there's some more mindless CP farming that we will get into early on in the next chapter, or early on in the post story. That's a lot more mindless. The returns aren't as good, but it's still, it will suit our purposes for the post story stuff. Because there's no way to get back to here, even though you can get back to Eden and you can get back to the Tesseracts. You cannot get back. Well, you can get back. No, I'll take that back. You can't get back to the Tesseracts. You'll be able to get back to Eden, and you'll be able to get back to the area that we get to at the end of the Tesseracts that leads to the final boss sequence, but you won't be able to get back to this area to use this grinding spot again. So that's going to do it for this episode. I know it was a little long. It's because I wanted to get here so that y'all didn't have a real short episode getting to this point, because after this point, we basically have the final boss sequence left, and then we're done with the storyline. And that's about all there is to it. And then we will go into the post-story gameplay, which we will still have countless hours left. I mean, not countless. There will be a counted limit of them based on the number of episodes, but, whatever. You know what I mean. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you guys the next time. Everybody have a great day.